So the Climate Action and Low Carbon Development Amendment Bill 2021 sets out the legal framework for Ireland's transition to a climate-resilient, biodiversity-rich, environmentally sustainable and climate-neutral economy by no later than 2050. It provides for a 2030 interim target, 5-yearly carbon budgets, sectoral emissions ceilings, an annually updated climate action plan and a long-term climate action strategy. Minister, as you know, in our shared constituency, in terms of those climate action plans, the local authority are going to take the lead on that, and it is really important that both the elected members of the local authority and indeed elected members, irrespective of what level they're at, that they feed into that plan, because really at the end of the day, government can guide this plan, but ultimately its implementation lies with local authorities, and it is crucial that they play their part in that. The bill also places on a statutory basis a commitment to achieve a climate-neutral economy by no later than 2050, to be known as the National Climate Objective. Of course, this does not mean that Ireland will no longer produce carbon emissions by this time. It means that we commit to offsetting all the carbon that we produce by 2050. A large part of this will involve reducing emissions by changing practices in sectors such as energy, housing, transport, agriculture, and also by sequestering carbon through methods such as rewilding parts of our country. The Climate Action Bill will ensure that Ireland meets its international commitments under the Paris Agreement. Working internationally with almost 200 other countries, including the United States, China, India, the Paris Agreement aims to substantially reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to limit the global temperature increase in this century to 2 degrees Celsius, while pursuing means to limit the increase further to 1.5 degrees. Over the next decade, we will see revolutionary change when it comes to green infrastructure and technology. We are already seeing this in the UK, which is embracing green tech and leading the way. Global capital and investors are following suit, abandoning old carbon-intensive sectors and earmarking funds for green tech development. And we can see that here in Ireland too. And Ireland can't be left behind, and the Climate Action Bill will ensure that our country is at the forefront of that green revolution. These changes will be challenging, and we've heard from deputies earlier about various sectors and the concerns within those. But we will require fundamental change in many parts of Irish life, and we have to accept that, and at times it will be difficult for all of us. In rising to the challenge, we will be able to improve, though, the health and welfare and security of our country. And I've raised with Minister Ryan before my own concerns in relation to energy security, for example, for Ireland. I have a parliamentary question in at the moment on that, and I think it is imperative, while we rule out certain types of energy, that we also have to satisfy ourselves that we have energy security for the next decade and beyond. And it's not just for our generation, but obviously it's for the next generation and beyond that too, that the Climate Action Bill will deliver the changes that we want it to do. Once the Climate Action Bill passes, we then prepare for the Climate Action Plans, which will set out the actions that must be taken to ensure we deliver on our commitments to reduce total carbon emissions by 51% by 2030 and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. This will make Ireland a world leader in responding to the climate change and improve our country and our living environment immensely. The next step is to prepare the next Climate Action Plan, which will set out those actions, and that must be taken in order to ensure we deliver on the commitments in our programme for government, including making sure we achieve our 2030 targets and also our neutrality by 2050, making Ireland that world leader that I spoke of. The Climate Action Plan underwent enormous, intense scrutiny at our Oireachtas committee, and I was proud to be a part of the committee. And I want to pay tribute here to our chair, Deputy Brian Ledden, in his steering of the committee and to improve on the draft text as the committee worked over the last number of months to do just that. I welcome the fact that the Minister has included the majority of the 78 recommendations proposed by our committee, which will significantly strengthen the bill. In relation to language, it has been amended to ensure obligations are clearly stated And the relationship between the various mechanisms is also more explicit. In line with the Programme for Government commitment, the bill provides that the carbon budgets should provide a 51% reduction in greenhouse emissions by 2030. Key principles, Minister, such as just transition, climate justice, protection and restoration of biodiversity, are matters that the Minister and the Government will have regard to when preparing various action plans. And very importantly, public participation. Provisions such as provisions have been strengthened with the bill, providing that for each of the relevant plans, strategies and carbon budgets, the Minister will consult with the public so they can have their say. And I note currently there's the public consultation underway. I think it closes on the 18th of May. And it's very important that at this present time, before this bill is hopefully enacted, that the public have their say in how those action plans are shaped and what is contained in them. As I mentioned, the next phase will be to develop that climate action plan. Like in sectors of housing, we move quickly to retrofit homes. And I note that there's a commitment for a number of I think it's 400,000 homes to be retrofitted. And Minister, you know from Dunleary Rathdown, as a local authority, we made a commitment and we've made great strides in improving local authority housing stock, in retrofitting quite a number. Now there's more to be done, but obviously, you know, when we speak of just transition and we speak of retrofitting, there are private homeowners who can't afford to retrofit, and that's why this is really key, that we bring them along with us and that homes are warmer and that they're more secure. And I think this is really important part, and it'll obviously save energy, reducing energy bills, and make them more comfortable for the owners and inhabitants of those homes. Pilot schemes such as those being provided by Energy Cloud, for example, this is something I raised at the committee last week, provide innovative technology solutions to reducing the instance of fuel poverty and ensure we use wind energy to its full potential. Equally, we must ensure that all new housing stock is fit for a purpose. We need to see regulations ensuring the reuse of grey water to reduce the pressure on our national water network and indeed conserve our precious drinking water. In transport, we need to invest in public transport network. Major infrastructural projects such as Dart Underground and the upgrading of the Lewis Green Line are all critical projects. Equally, we need to see investment in walking and cycling infrastructure, where there needs to be a renewed focus to the local authorities to complete projects such as the Sutton to Sandy Cove cycle track and ensure that that's a coastal route. That's been on the plans for about 30 years, and I fear that we're moving away from the physical coastal original plan and we're proposing an on-road solution. And to me, I think it's imperative that the vast majority of that route will be coastal, and the funding is there now. We have to ensure collectively, both as government and deputies of this House, that that is achieved, as well as the lead to sea coastal routes. The shift to electric cars must be supported with practical measures such as more on-street charging points. And you know, Minister, from our own development plan, that was inserted as well, that all new developments would have charging points. And that's important that that's replicated right across the country now in the current draft of development plans that's happening. On land, we must ensure we continue to develop our forestry programme. And I welcome the government's commitment to plant native forestry and to enhance and support biodiversity. It is the energy sector that Ireland has the most potential to make significant progress. We are well placed to become a world leader in offshore energy generation. This must be supported by an upgrade to the national grid and the completion of the international interconnectors. Again, something I've raised with Minister Ryan before, and I think it's important that we stay on course on that. While these changes will be challenging, as I've said, I've no doubt that they will improve our environment overall. 10 years from now, hopefully, we'll be living in a healthier and cleaner Ireland and cleaner cities as well. Biodiversity will have been improved. We will be on track to meet our international commitments and, more importantly, our moral commitments to the next generation of Irish citizens and indeed global citizens. It's on that basis, Minister, that I support the bill. I think it is important that we, that collectively here in the House, if there are amendments to be made, further amendments by deputies, but ultimately that I think I would like to see a unanimous support for such a measure. I was speaking earlier about the retrofitting of 500,000 homes and installing 400,000 heat pumps in existing buildings over the next 10 years. Ambitions like that are really crucial because it's not just in retrofitting. Obviously, it's across the board. But I think when people see the tangible benefits of this programme, a very ambitious, very brave programme, I think they will hopefully buy into it. But they will ultimately be the beneficiaries of it. And this is something that's happening now. We can't afford not to do it. For some people who deny there is any such instance or a need for climate change or climate action, I think all I'd say to them is, surely we should all strive to reduce our carbon emissions, irrespective of your view. And I think this plan will meet with that ambition. I think the targets they're ambitious, but I think if we start now and the sooner this bill is passed, the better we'll be. So I commend the bill, Last Count Quarter, or Cathaoirleach. Thank you very much, Minister, for your time. And you might relay some of those comments that I've made to Minister Ryan, please, because I'm waiting to hear a response. Cormac.